Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our No Capes Required Avengers Endgame special. That's right, we are dedicating the whole video just to the movie. We're not doing episode 11 up until next week because we really thought that we needed to go in on this movie.
A whole dedicated day.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to be talking, obviously, giving our reviews of the movie, hearing some other people's perspectives of the movie, and also talk about the impact overall of the MCU. So get your seatbelts buckled up, strap in, and let's dive. $21 movies, $19 billion, and so many priceless fan reactions have led to this moment.
Yeah.
Avengers Endgame, possibly we had said the biggest superhero movie of our lifetime.
Yeah.
And you said maybe even the biggest movie
Of all time.
Yeah, I mean, so
It's that
this
big.
has been, and if you want to just know how much it's already making, so far it's an estimated 644 million, and the weekend's not even over yet, but it's already surpassed Infinity War's opening. So I mean, it's already looking like this is going to be monster huge.
And that was just first day. Like, first day it made that much money. The theater we went to was kind of crazy though, because at first it looked like it wasn't getting packed. But as soon as, like, I don't know, 30 minutes before the movie came, everybody started flooded, and you could really see the impact of those pre-sale tickets.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we actually got to, me and Doug saw the movie yesterday. We got to caught up with, some fans who, it seemed like most of them were emotional. And, they were almost choking up like Doug was just a minute ago. Yeah, so right on cue. But take a look.
It was amazing. Definitely tied together a lot of plot lines. Good mix of like humor, sadness, action, all that stuff. So, Russo brothers did a good job.
It was a great movie.
It was good,
Touching.
emotional, but it was good.
It's worth seeing.
They're always good. Yeah.
Did you cry at all during the movie?
Almost teared up like 3 or 4 times.
People have said this was like the culmination of the MCU in a way, at least for now. Like, do you feel like this was a good end to that chapter?
Yeah, I definitely feel like it just brought everything together. And I don't want to spoil anything, but definitely like the whole plot line it really completed the whole.
Yeah.
I'm excited to what they have next. I mean, they planned out, I think, like the first 12 years, then like the first 3 years of the Marvel Universe. So, excited. Hopefully DC doesn't catch up. Hopefully they don't drop the ball like DC did. So, I'm excited.
So yeah, definitely, like, I will say, first off, even before going to the movie, the fan participation in this movie and the fan reactions in the theater were awesome. So me and Doug went to a 1:30 show, and we thought that this might be a test, because it's like, okay, maybe not as many people will show up for a 1:30 show just because it's, a weekday, it's sort of, midday.
Right.
But everybody showed up. It was sold out theater. It was a packed theater.
Packed theater. I mean, like, in the beginning, like I said, it seemed like it was just us and I think like a couple other people.
Yeah.
But then by the end, you just saw a line of people just filing out. And honestly, I didn't even notice that many people come in.
No, a lot of people came in at, like, sort of toward the previews. Like, as the previews were coming in, like, all these people were coming in and all the seats were filled by the time the movie started. So, but the fan reactions were amazing. Like, there were 5 times, going into the movie, there were 5 times where people were like clapping in unison.
Yeah.
So no, shout out to all the the theater at least that we were at, and I've heard good things about theaters around the world that different people have had the same experiences. So definitely the crowds showed up to this joint. But let's talk about the actual movie now. Doug, been waiting to ask you this for a long time.
Ask it, Sky. I'm ready.
What did you think?
Man, that was the most epic movie I've ever seen in my life. I'm not even kidding. This is how I'm starting this off, Scott.
Yeah, for sure.
This is how I'm starting this off. I said not Dark Knight Rises. The Dark Knight was my favorite Superman. Wow.
Superhero?
Yeah.
This is how excited you are.
This is how, that's what I'm saying. Like, I can't even get it out. I said Dark Knight was my favorite superhero movie of all time. This has trumped that. It's not even a comparison.
Yeah.
This is 3 hours of just beautiful birthday cake with all your favorite flavors on top. And cherries that just don't stop. It's just an abundance of cherries being thrown at you from
vanilla,
all over the
chocolate,
place.
and strawberry.
Everything,
Yeah.
everything. Literally, this movie encompassed everything that we have been watching for these 11 years.
Yeah.
I've literally never been so satisfied. And I know I feel like I'm speaking like very in exaggeration right now, but literally, I don't think I've ever been this satisfied for a movie that I've seen before. Have you? The satisfaction level?
Oh, yeah. You know, the thing is, like, this movie, I was thinking, like, so I feel like the worst that it could be was maybe, like, good and not great. That would be I don't think I didn't expect at all this movie was going to be bad or anything like that, or even okay. But the expectations for this movie were almost like anything I've ever seen, just because of how Infinity War left off, the fact that so many people love that movie as well, and this was like the culmination of the MCU in a way, or at least the end of one chapter. This met all my expectations, man. Like, I can't really say enough. Like, shout out to the Russo brothers. Like,
Hats off, man.
I mean, the Russo brothers really are putting up a heck of a resume. They said that they are going to, unfortunately, they're going to stop, making Marvel movies after this one.
For now.
But, I can't really blame them because, like, Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, and they just dropped the mic on Endgame. It was almost like the whole Kobe Mamba out thing, and they just dropped 60 points. I mean, they really went to town with this movie, and I can't really shout them out enough. They've been fantastic as directors. Everybody came to play, and the thing is, with Marvel movies, the thing I love most about them is that they really do take care of their characters. They make everybody shine, and they do here again. Like, everybody, I think, gets their shining moment. I mean, and maybe we can say, in sort of an exception, like, we're not going to have any spoilers here, because the spoilers, and we're going to respect...
Saquon already did that.
Not Saquon, LaShawn.
LaShawn McCoy. McCoy, bro. we need to have a conversation.
No, do not follow LaShawn McCoy on Twitter all.
Don't even Google it.
Don't even honestly look at Twitter before you see this movie.
You gotta delete all forms of social media.
Delete social media just for now. Don't delete your account, but just delete the apps.
Yeah, don't look at it.
Going back to it, like, they really do let each character shine in this movie, just as every Marvel movie seems to do. But especially I feel like with who they do justice in this movie is really two people, the two spearheads of the MCU, Cap and Iron Man. They just really do shine the brightest, I feel like, in this movie, and it's really only right because, like I said, they've been the front runners, they've been the spearheads, they've been the faces of Marvel,
right.
And it's only right that they kind of get the most screen time and definitely, the most,
Definitely. Look, I wouldn't want to see any other people really at the spearheaded in this movie. I wouldn't want to see anybody with more screen time than them, just because we know what they've been through. It's been an emotional roller coasters for those two characters, especially for Captain America, because, well, for both of them, but I was just saying for Captain America because he's not even from this time period. He's a man out of time. Like, and he still being a leader, still being the hopeful guy that he was back in the past. So we know these characters have been through a lot, and just to see them kind of come back together, especially, that was very much a treat.
Yeah, no, but I loved everybody almost in this movie. Thor's approach to this character in this movie was unexpected.
I loved it.
But it was awesome. Like, I was not expecting what they were going to do with Thor, and obviously he's also a part of the Marvel Trinity. But I really liked how they surprised me with his character, and I felt like the audience actually even benefited from it, and it was really cool.
The thing about this movie was that they literally just like the cherries I was talking about earlier, they kept throwing unexpectedness at you. There was so many scenes that I just did not see coming at all. Even because I read the comic books, like I never even expected this coming from a background of comics. You know what I'm saying? And I was amazed. And actually, to hop on to your Russo statement before, any Marvel movie that they put out after this, they need to consult with the Russo brothers.
This does really feel like just like I said, an amazing movie on its own. Obviously, you'll appreciate it if you've really followed the MCU from start to finish. But I feel like this chapter, whatever you really want to say about this movie, and like the 3 hours. So that's another thing. We touched on the 3 hours. The 3 hours I feel like were like well spent actually. Like the Russos were obviously working to try to, okay, can we cut down here? And then he ultimately decided, no, we can't really cut any of this. So, and I think after seeing the movie, we kind of understood why.
Yeah. There were a couple people that I talked to outside the movie theater and then back home as well.
Yeah.
That their concern was the 3 hours, and they were really like, well, why couldn't they just fit it into a 2 hour block instead? But there's literally so much information. There was no wasted scene in this movie. So because of that, it was just chock full of information. There was nothing that you couldn't take away that had a purpose. So there was an understanding of why it had to be 3 hours, because you can't, it's not even possible to fit that in 2 hour block, and it wouldn't do it justice at all.
So for a movie of this magnitude, where it's 3 hours, many of you may be asking yourselves who haven't seen the movie yet, when is a good time to go to the bathroom? So let me say this, if you have to do number 2, I have no idea. You might just have to see it again. But if you gotta go number 1, CBS actually did put out their list about a little article about when to pee during the movie. And they actually, so this is where we say minor spoiler alert. We're not really giving away too much in this movie, but I'll just put it out there in case anybody wants to really just go in blind.
Yeah.
This is a mild spoiler alert, so if you're not really concerned about, the bathroom breaks or anything, feel free to skip ahead to the next segment. But for any of you who do want to know, and I don't think we'll spoil anything too much, but...
You've been warned already, so...
Yeah, exactly. So the first scene where the first point where I guess you should, like, if you need to go to the bathroom, would be 30 minutes into the film. It's when you see a title slate called San Francisco. So once you see that San Francisco, in case you didn't go before the film and you need to go 30 minutes in, go then. Because honestly, that is the best point to go to the bathroom. I'm not really going to go into it, but I would say that would be like the number 1 point. But if you're 30 minutes in, I feel like you should have probably gone before the movie and during the trailers.
Yeah.
Number 2, during the lunch break scene. So we're not gonna, we can't really go into specifics about that, but when you see some heroes having lunch, that is maybe a point where you can go. Personally, I wouldn't, because it's a very funny scene and it actually gives you some interesting information that was unexpected. So personally, I wouldn't go during that scene.
Right.
And shout out to Doug also. He didn't even have to go before the movie. He didn't have to go right after the movie. Mr. Steel Bladder over here, like, he's in the bathroom jam.
Look, man, we don't do none of that over here, okay? I drank my 2 bottles of water when I got up that morning. Yep. That's all I needed for that day. We're good.
At number 3 for the bathroom break scenes is during a conversation. We're not going to go into specifics, but a conversation between Tony and Pepper. So when you see those 2 characters having kind of a deep conversation, like I said, I wouldn't go here either, because I don't know, it seems too close to other scenes that are really important, and it's a cool little moment between those 2 characters.
It's actually pivotal, I'm not gonna lie.
So yeah, probably shouldn't go during that scene.
No.
And the last one that they suggest is during the New Jersey title slate. But a lot of people have said that is only as a last resort. So that is kind of a pivotal scene as well. But I mean, if you just really, really need to go, that would be possibly like a time to jet.
And the common theme for all of these times to go to the bathroom is that all of these scenes are pretty important.
Yeah, and that's the problem. There aren't really any good times. Like I said, the best time out of all those 4 is the San Francisco title slate scene, but that's 30 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
So you might just have to hold it. I mean, at least for the first time viewing, second time, then you know what's happened, so you can sort of adjust accordingly and plan accordingly, like I will the next time. But for the first time, I would try to hold it. If not, maybe look at these scenes that CBS has suggested. But yeah, other than that, those are our points for going to the bathroom. So do what you need to do, but make sure you jet. Do not hold. Yeah, you need to go.
You gotta go.
Sprint.
You gotta go. Like
Flash.
Flash.
Usain Bolt. Let's go. Yeah.
Usain Bolt, the Flash, all of those.
Quicksilver. Yeah.
My suggestion though, Sky.
Yeah, for sure.
Just bring a bucket.
So this week I talked with Brandon King. He's a music director for Blaze Radio, a film critic for the State Press, and a former co-host of the original No Capes Required on Blaze Radio. I talked with him about Avengers Endgame, as well as what its Oscar chances are. So here's what he had to say.
General thoughts on Avengers Endgame. I love this film. And I am saying that if you guys haven't been, if any of you guys out there haven't been following, I've been reviewing all the Marvel films on my Twitter feed at the Movie King 45.
Yeah, definitely go follow, by the way.
Yeah, and going back through that journey, it brings a lot of the emotional standpoints of a lot of characters I don't think people would have been thinking twice about into the forefront. And what the Russo brothers and what Stephen McFeely and Christopher Marcus do with the screenplay is, to me, nothing less of Doctor Strange Wong level magic. It is so precise. It is so painstakingly attentioned to emotional detail, to narrative detail, to pacing detail. The pacing of this movie for 3 hours, it goes by much faster than I thought it was going to be. And just overall, it's an incredibly fun conclusion to this story that I was emotionally on a roller coaster with the whole way through. It's not perfect. There are a couple things about it that we can nitpick about and things like that. But overall, I just had a blast with this movie.
Looking ahead to Oscar time, do you think that Endgame could be a big player for Oscar season?
I know there's certain other, critics and movie pundits who like getting this stuff, as early as they can. To me, I don't love talking Oscar stuff super seriously until like September, October, once we get a better range of not only the Oscar films coming out at that time, but a better idea of what the majority of the films that year are. Mm-hmm. That being said, if we're just playing hypothetical for a second, I do think, especially with the precedent that other comic book movies, specifically just Avengers Infinity War last year, set with visual effects, and I know there was a lot of talk around, around editing, a lot of talk around screenplay for that film as well. I think you are going to see, especially, a lot of buzz for Endgame as well by the time Oscars come around.
So Avengers Endgame, like we keep on saying, is kind of the culmination of the MCU, the end of a chapter, and I think most importantly, it just expresses how big of a journey that the MCU has really been on since that first Iron Man in 2008. Yeah. So, what do you feel like when we think of the MCU, when historians are looking back and about the MCU, what do you think, we'll remember?
Well, I feel like my generation, or our generation, I feel like our generation is going to treat this kind of like the Star Wars of our generation. Yeah. I feel like it was that impactful to where, like, we've never seen something like this happen on screen before. Mm-hmm. And it's happening within our generation. I think a lot more superhero movies are going to come about. A lot more superheroes that we don't even really hear about, that don't really have like as many cameos in the comics. I think they're going to get their own TV shows or movie series. I think the age of superheroes, even though I feel like we're already in that, I think there's going to be an even better age in the years to come.
Yeah, no, I mean, the thing is, I think that, with Endgame and the MCU as a whole, you really just, because obviously we talked about the theater and how so many people were we're very emotional sort of at the end of the film. And it just showed you how important these characters have become to society, really, and just so many people across the world. And there are so many people that think of these heroes really as role models, and people that they can look up to, even if they are fictional in a way, but they actually teach us how to be the best of ourselves. And But beyond that, in terms of like just the cinema world, and regardless of actually superheroes, I feel like it's had a tremendous impact on cinema and has really changed the game. Because if you think about it, look at all these different movie studios now creating their own cinematic universes.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know what DC's trying to do. You know, they have like, you know, the Godzilla monster cinematic universe coming together. They've got even Star Wars is kind of now branching out to their own little cinematic universe. So there are a lot of just studios and different, you know, movie franchises that are trying to copy Marvel's formula just because of how successful it's been. Like we said, you know, $19 billion spanning across 21 films. I mean, it's just been obviously amazing what they've been able to accomplish. So, like I said, this goes even beyond superheroes.
Yeah, you know how they implemented so many different characters in a course of 11 years, right? And they give them all kind of background information within their own movies as well. So you kind of grow with these characters.
Yeah.
Do you think that kind of development will be a baseline for future
future movies? Yeah. Yeah, you know, it really could be. Like I said, I feel like there are going to be, for those that at least, you know, want to create those cinematic universe. Like, that's the thing. When you want to try to create this cinematic universe, you got to go all in with it. And I think what Marvel does, which I think we were talking after the car ride, and this is no disrespect, we're not trying to diss DC at all in any way, but...
I mean, their movies isn't good, bro.
You're just going
let's just say it.
Look... I mean, hey, Wonder Woman, but
Wonder Woman's good, yeah.
But listen, I mean, with DC, I feel like, you know, one of the reasons why maybe they're not able to, you know, strike gold or hit it out of the park just yet is because at least the heads that we've seen, they're not necessarily comic book people. They're not necessarily superhero people. And, you know, Kevin Feige and all the producers seem to really know their stuff in terms of, and they truly care about these characters.
Right.
And that's the thing, when you have these characters and you want to make them stand out, and we keep on saying it over and over again, and I'm going to keep on saying it over and over again, Marvel, out of really almost any franchise, just knows how to make their characters shine.
Yes. All
their characters shine bright on screen, and that's because they really care for each and every one of them, that they want to make them, you know, even though it's superpowered, they can be relatable. And, you know, they have resonated so much with, you know, the people in, you know, today's society, the fans across the world, that in some ways they are in their own tier.
The greatness that these movies have done, it cannot be denied. Like, yeah, you could argue for some of the past films that they weren't the best, but in a totality, like, this has spanned for 11 years, Scott.
Yeah.
I keep stressing that on here, but 11 years that they've been building up to this moment, how can you replicate that ever?
So you don't think that anybody's going to be able to top what they've done?
All right. Well, they said that Jordan will be the GOAT of all time too, but that's going to come to an end eventually too. There will be a better movie. I just don't know if it's going to be in my lifetime.
In terms of, like, at least this chapter, which has been a tremendous chapter for this 11 years. I mean, we've grown with all these characters, you know, especially, like, you know, those core, you know, the core six, or, you know, even the, you know, Marvel Trinity. Like, we've really become attached with all these characters that, you know, the MCU has introduced. And obviously we're going to keep following all the characters that are still going to be in their films going forward. But it is, you know, a bittersweet, it's bittersweet, but it's also exciting to see what they're going to do next. And obviously we do have to, you know, see, because they're going to introduce some new characters. We already talked about the Shang-Chi movie coming up. He's going to be new. We don't know what's going to happen with this, you know, the Disney-Fox merger. We don't know who's going to get introduced next with them, but it should really just be exciting. And obviously they're going to keep on building with the characters they still have that are still around. So it's just going to be, I think it's already been an amazing journey, but the fun isn't over yet. And can't wait to see what they do in the future. Yeah, so go see, if you haven't seen Avengers Endgame, please do. It was worth every penny.
Everyone.
Yeah, literally for, you know, the ticket, and it was just, you know, it's an amazingly wild ride, full of emotions. From, you know, you laugh, you'll cry, you'll, you know, go through it all. So definitely recommend it. But yeah, look out for episode 11. We'll be back on Twitter and social media, so we'll get those Twitter question of the weeks up and running. But yeah, until next time, if you haven't seen Endgame, go see it right now. Just get your tickets online. Just go right now. And if you have seen it, don't spoil anything. Thanos demands your silence.